All right, welcome to the show today. Closers or Losers, here with our CEO, Matt Ryder, all the way out in Sydney, Australia at our corporate office. I'm grandstanding over here. I'm on a little vacation trip. We have a second home here in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I have a little office in this house that I'm at today. So it's nice and sunny, Matt, 95. I think it's close to being the winter over in Australia now, right?
Yeah, I'm wearing a nice knit.
Nice and cold, wearing the sweaters. We're like in shorts, and it's like 95 here in Arizona where I'm at the next couple of weeks. So if you are brand new to the show, I'm the founder, I'm the chairman of Seventh Level. Matt's the CEO. We're a company that helps sales professionals like you tuning in. We help coaches and sales executives and entrepreneurs, business owners, and we help you transform the way you sell by learning how to use human behavior in your sales process rather than using techniques that work against human behavior, a massive difference in your income for you and your company. We teach you, those are called neuro-emotional persuasion questions, stands for NEPQ. Teach you the right tonality, put your prospects at ease, eliminate sales pressure, gets them to persuade themselves. So today, Matt, I was thinking about what we would cover on the show, and I was in Messenger the other day, actually messaging people that are in our Facebook group. I was messaging this one guy and he was bragging so much. He's like, yeah, last year I made $130,000. I'm the number one salesperson in my company. My close rate is, 30, 40%, which is great. And I applaud him like, wow, that's really great. I was like, as far as terms in future improvements, where do you really want to take your income in sales as a sales professional? And he came back with, he didn't think he could make any more. He thought that he literally knew everything about selling. And so because of that, he stays in status quo and he's always going to stay in that income because his skill level is not increasing. So his skill level staying the same. So he stays stuck in the status quo. Do you ever see that from salespeople yourself?
I see it all the time, and I think sales is like similar. It's like an athletic endeavor.
Yeah.
Right. And so like people, like if they're the best on their team, they get an ego and they think that they're the best. They just don't realize that they're playing street ball with a bunch of 14-year-olds. You know what I mean? When there's an NBA out there. That's a little bit different. Like we got James, one of our employees, got kicked out of a Facebook group the other day because this is a sales recruitment placement agency, sales training organization that said you cannot make $1 million a year as a closer in commissions. And James just wrote, "Of course you can. I know heaps of people who've done it. This guy," and they said, "Prove it," and then kicked him out. So obviously he couldn't prove it. And it's like, but that's the mentality of a lot of the industries that we're in. It's like, no, you have to be scamming people. You have to be lying to people. You have to be bullshitting. You're reporting fake numbers. It's like, no. Like people are just really good at it. Like Mark, I don't know, Babe Ruth or Mark McGuire or Sammy. So all these guys who've broken records, it's like, no, they're just really good at it.
Yeah, they got really good. They got really talented because they learned the right skills, right? Now, if you're selling magazine subscriptions door to door and you make $5 for every one, can you make $300,000 or $400,000 a year in income? Probably not. But if you learn the right skills, you're going to get into other sales opportunities that pay you a lot more, and you're selling more high-end or high-priced or high-ticket products. And that could mean anything. That could mean anything from SaaS, that could mean anything from cybersecurity to high-ticket coaching. That could mean exotic cars. That could mean yachts. That could mean financial services. We train a lot of people in the insurance industry that make 60, 70, 80,000 every single month in straight commissions, and they sell freaking life insurance policies, right?
Yeah. If you make $1,000 commission for whatever it is you sell, which is not a high or a low commission, it's 2.5 a day.
Yeah.
So 2.5 of those, you'll make $1 million a year.
Yeah. And a lot of times, when we go to events, one thing that we help sales professionals realize, and this is the same if you're hearing the show and you're a business owner and you have a sales team, we help your sales teams realize that what they're making now, even if it's good, even if it's above average, if they continually learn more advanced skills that work with human behavior, it's going to go up and up and up. So an exercise that we get them to do is we ask the audience, and it doesn't matter if it's virtual or if it's, a live stage event, which we haven't done anything live stage for over a year now because of COVID, but that'll open up here in probably 3 or 4 months. So if it's live on stage or virtual, we're going in and we're asking them, what are your 2 biggest expenses in your life as a salesperson? Like, what are your 2 biggest expenses? Now, when we ask that on stage, people say, my mortgage, or man, my kids are so expensive. It's usually the kids, or my wife is expensive, or my husband's expensive, or whatever. And I say, yeah, those are all expensive, but let me give you your second biggest expense in life. Your second biggest expense in life is your taxes. Right. And we do this on purpose. And I'll tell you why. Okay. So we say, your second biggest expense in life is your taxes. And people are like, no, it's not that bad. Taxes aren't that bad. Oh, really? Okay. Really? Well, here in the United States, they tax you federally on your income, which is like 39%, if you're at a high tax bracket. They tax you on your state income tax. They tax you when you buy something. That's called sales tax. They tax you when you sell a stock. They tax you when you die. That's called death or estate tax. They tax you on your property that you buy, whether it's a car, boat. They tax you on your gas. They tax you when you go buy a magazine at the gas station. It doesn't matter. So literally the average American, probably in Australia, it's even more. The average American pays about 50% in taxes. They don't realize all these other taxes they're paying besides federal and state income tax. So I say, if your second biggest expense is taxes, which is 50% of your income, really, when it's all broken down, my God, the first biggest expense in your life has to be really scary. And what is that? Nobody knows. And I always say, your biggest expense in life is your lack of knowledge. Let me repeat that. Your biggest expense in life is your lack of knowledge, of not understanding, of not learning the right skills so you can be able to make at least $300,000 a year as a sales professional selling anything. That's your biggest expense in life. And they're like, oh, I never thought about it. Then I say, oh, I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to write down that magical goal. Because every salesperson out there is like, man, like the richest of the richest of the richest salespeople, like Solomon, the salesperson on cloud 9 makes 250 to 300 grand a year. Okay, let's in their mind. So I say, let's write down your goal of 250 or 300,000 a year. That's what you really want to make, right? That's going to get you ahead in life. Now, underneath that, write down how much money you made last year as a sales professional. Was it 30? Was it 50? Were you an above average earner? You made 80, whatever it is, write that down under 300,000. Let's say if you're an above average earner, you made 80. Now I want you to subtract 80,000 from 300,000. What is that left over? 220,000. Circle that. That's your biggest expense in life. That's what you paid life last year because you still haven't learned the right skills to be able to make 300,000 a year as a salesperson selling your products or service. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you willing to pay life another 220,000 next year because you still haven't learned the right skills to be able to make 300,000 a year as a salesperson? And people are like, oh my God, because I don't think most salespeople think about that. They think like, oh, if I make 80, somehow magically in 5 years from now, I'm going to sell the same thing and sell the same way and say the same things and ask the same questions. And somehow magically, I'm going to make 250 grand a year. They don't realize they don't have the right skills to be able to do that yet.
Yeah. One of the most telling factors is whenever someone finds out how much money they make in sales, what's the first question the person always asks? Oh, what do you sell? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter,
right? It's not what you're selling. It's
how you
sell. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It could be like I sell widgets. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I sell seatbelts.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Like if you're really good at it, then you'll make as much money as you can. And if that industry is capped or the organization you're with has a capped commission structure, right? Then you'll just be really good and you'll be able to get a job literally anywhere else that you want, selling anything else. And if you have a good methodology, it translates. Yeah. Sales is sales. It frustrates the living hell out of me when people are like, oh, it won't work for my industry. It's like, of course it will. It's just, you're selling people, right? Like you're selling people something.
Yeah.
Like the something is whatever it is. The people is the main component. And it's like, we just focus on that bit.
Yeah. Well, it's very true. The first year that I made multiple 7 figures as a salesperson. So it was in 2012, I made $2.4 million that year in straight commissions. You know what I sold? I sold marketing events. I sold personal development and marketing events. I made 2.4 million in straight commission. I was a 1099 sales rep. Okay. So over in America, that means I'm like a general contractor. I have to pay my own taxes. I'm basically an employee without having to be W-2. So it helps me a little bit on taxes. You negotiate that once you're a top salesperson. Do you know what the average person in my industry made a year when I was making 2.4 million a year? The average salesperson in my company in the industry that was selling the exact same thing I was, made $47,000 a year.
Yeah.
I was making that more than that every single week, selling the same thing, selling the same product, no differences. And people would always say,
they must have loved you.
People would always say, like, what is he doing? Is he lying to people? Is he just BSing people? And then they would get on calls, because then the owners were like, dude, you need to train everybody in our company. Like, there's just no way. How are you doing this? And so they get on calls and they, I know, they would listen to me, take them through this discovery process where people were just enrolling left and right. Oh, 50 grand, no problem. Like, they were begging me to be able to pay for the event. And people were like, holy crap, because they had always been taught to like push. The product's great. It's personal development. It's going to change your life. It's going to blah, 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 blah. And I was getting really what was their why, but more importantly, what was behind the why, right? Taking them through that sales cycle, NEPQ. And people are like, wow, because actually when people say, oh, that person's lying, that's how he's making more money or he's BSing, nothing could be further from the truth for anybody, because if you actually lie and BS, you'll actually make less money, because customers are not stupid. Today's consumers are far more skeptical and cautious than they've ever been. And if you do that kind of stuff, they pick up on it in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very interesting when you see, I think the average in, say, the coaching and consulting industry, which is where I've done most of my sales, the average sales guy makes $2,000 to $3,000 a month. That's around average. And it's like, I think the second half of 2020, I averaged selling part-time.
Yeah.
I averaged 60.
Yeah.
It's part-time. I wasn't selling full-time.
Yeah.
Like, I was probably dedicating 15 hours a week to selling.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not because the commissions were extremely high. There's good commissions, a few $1,000s a sale, but it was just like, just closing vast majority. Like, I could have done more calls and I didn't need to. I had no requirement to make more money and do more work than that.
Yeah. And you were closing more people, but you were closing them at a higher price point, right? So your company might have offered products for 30 grand, 15, 5, and then 2. And most of the salespeople that make 2, 3, 4 grand a month, they're mainly just able to only sell the 2 or 3, and they can't even do that well. You were primarily selling the 15, 20, and 30. So your DPI, your dollar per lead, or DPL, was like 10 times higher than anybody else in the company, not because that you were just a really cool guy or you wear cool hats or you got this cool accent. It's because of the questions you were asking the prospects that got them to persuade themselves that they really needed to change their situation, that it was far more riskier for them to do nothing and stay at a status quo and the problems are still there, rather than getting the money or the funding together to be able to solve their problems to get where they really said they wanted to go. Far more riskier to do nothing, right? Your questions allow them to know and understand that, not you tell them that.
Yeah. And then also I think, like, cause I was there was a few companies that I sold for last year and I was the top one in all of them. And I think it was like, as well, it was like, because I was so confident in my process and I was very happy I had my NEPQ, I was doing my thing. Like, whatever the business owner, the business didn't give me, I just put in. Like, it was like, I know that I need something in between the first call and the second call to send them. I told them to provide it to me. They wouldn't. So I was like, I'll just do it myself. So I just created my own sales process that as soon as I got that lead, I owned that lead. That was mine. I will do what I need to do to make them fit into my process. And then I will sell them and I will hand them back off to the client. And they kept asking me, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was just like, oh, I'm just doing my thing, man. Like, I'm not going to train your reps. Like, I'm a guy over here, like, doing my thing. I'm an independent contractor. Like, I'm not training my own competition. That's all right. I'll just keep doing my thing. You guys can do your thing. I've told you what I wanted. You wouldn't give it to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep doing me.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, so it's like you took ownership of the business yourself, right? So you weren't the owner, you were an employee of them, right? But you took ownership, and like, instead of just sitting around like, oh, woe is me, they're not giving me what I should do, I just can't make any sales. You just took over and just brought in your own sales process. You brought in, like, if they needed to watch a webinar, you made the webinar or video or whatever, and you took them through the process, and then you upsold them, for sure. I mean, that's what you have to do if you want to be a top sales professional.
And then I had my own referral process. I had my own follow-up process. I had everything in place. And I think like, that's one thing, like when top sales professionals, like, I think, you know, ego doesn't play a role. And like when I listen to people's calls, and we do that a fair bit here, is I'll go, that was an ego decision. It's like, you know, when somebody pulls an offer, oh, like maybe you're not right for this. And, you know, I think it's like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, well, because it's like, no, that's not a takeaway close. I know what a takeaway close is. And like, that can be used. It's not a technique that I really like too much, but there is some times where it makes sense. But like, in generally speaking, what you're doing is you're trying to make yourself as a salesperson feel better by making it seem like you controlled it, instead of it feel like a rejection, when all you had to do is collaborate with that person, book a follow-up, and then maybe they don't sign today. Maybe they don't sign in 3 weeks, 6 weeks. Maybe they sign in 12 months time.
Yeah.
But with 12 months of follow-up, like, that's how you create a thick, luscious pipeline, because you have no ego and somebody no-shows on you. One of the best lessons I ever got that translates into sales beautifully was, I was driving in the car with my dad, and I got cut off, and I was like, like the, you know, like getting all, you know, piece of shit, all that kind of stuff, right? And my dad goes, what are you angry about? This guy cut me off. He goes, you think he cut you off? And I was like, and he goes, you're just in the middle box where he wanted to be. So he doesn't know who you are. Like, what are you getting angry about? And I was like, oh man, that's such a good point.
Yeah,
right. Like, and so like, I ding that now. Whenever someone no shows on me, I don't get angry. I'm like, oh, they must be busy.
Yeah.
You know, and like, who hasn't cut someone off because you had to go to the toilet and you were busting and you had to get, you know what I mean? Like, chances are the guy was just busting, right? Like, so it's like, you know, I think having that, taking out your ego and just being like, oh, I guess the guy was busy. And then sending them a message, normalizing it. Like, hey, it's totally normal. People forget all the time. Like, don't stress about it. If you want to get like, when can you get back in touch? But if you send a message like, this is my time, and, you know, this is disrespectful. Like, I see salespeople do all the time. They make these ego plays to make themselves feel better. And all it does is make them lose out on 3, 4, 5, 10 sales a month, because they're making stupid ego-driven decisions to make themselves feel better about not selling somebody.
You're right. It triggers sales resistance. You can't come in and posture them and basically say, well, are you in or you out? Like, I remember, you know, a couple of years ago, before you came into 7th Level as a CEO and stuff, I remember I was training this company and I was listening to their calls, and on they did like a 2-call close with what they were selling. So it was more of a B2C type of sales process. And on the second close, they would answer their questions and they'd say, so are you in or are you out? That's what they would say for their close. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why do you think that works? And it's like, well, we get some sales from that. I'm like, yeah, you get 1 out of 10 right now. Your closing is 10%. Do you want to stay at 10%, or do you want to learn the right questions and start closing 40 or 50%? Because I can show you to do both. And of course, obviously things changed, but you know, the posturing like that just makes them feel like they're powerful, when all it does is trigger resistance. Yeah. Now, instead of saying, you know, because they still wanted to say the scale of 1 to 10 on their follow-up calls, here's how I taught them to relanguage that. And it worked beautifully. Okay. So they'd get on there. Okay, John, did you go through the webinar? Yeah, I went through the webinar. I'd be like, oh, did you get bored? Oh, no, I didn't get bored. Well, let's do this, John, just so I can see where you're at with other people that are looking to work with us, you know, in the business. And this is kind of a, I don't know, like a cheesy question, but, you know, on a scale of like, you know, I would say 1 to 10, you know, 1 that it's really not for you, and 10 that it, you know, that it might be what you're looking for. Yeah. Where would you rate yourself at? And so I said the same thing, but because of how I said it and the wording, and notice I said, you know, and this is kind of a cheesy question. Now, why would I say that? Because it softens the sales resistance. It softens the sales resistance, because it is a cheesy sales question. But when I say that, it lowers the sales resistance. And like, oh, I'm an 8. Okay, that's fairly high. Why so high? And then they would go into why they felt like it was what they're looking for. And we'd answer the questions and close them. So it's instead of saying, are you in or you out, or scale of 1 to 10, you're out, 1 that you're out, 10, this is definitely for you. Where would you rate yourself at? Trigger sales resistance. So you teach them how to lower that, and the results are way bigger.
Yeah. The other way that I do the 1 to 10 is I do the same thing. And then they give me an 8 and I go, well, why are you an 8 and not a 4?
I like
right.
that.
Because a lot of people will go, well, why are you a 7 and not a 10? And I go, what are you asking that question for?
Yeah.
And they go, and I like, whoa, it's like now they have to explain in detail why they're not more motivated.
Yeah.
I was like, but if you go, well, like, why are you an 8 and not like a 4? They go, well, I'm not a 4. Well, because this is important to me, and I'm like, whoa, okay. This makes sense. I get it, man. Yeah. Like, it's totally fine. And they kind of dig in as to why. They're like, I'm a 10. This is really, anyway.
Yeah, so exactly. That's perfect. It's like it's like when at the end of the transition stage, when we teach, our clients, company salespeople how to transition from their last solution awareness question, how to transition in their presentation, we're feeding back what they said they wanted. And because of it, because based on what you told me, what we're doing might actually work for you, because how you said, repeat back the logical problem. And then you repeat back what they said repeat back what they said they want, and then repeat back the logical problem. And because of that, it's causing you to feel, I think you'd mentioned, a little bit frustrated sometimes. Now notice I lower that, because in the conversation, they told me they were frustrated and it was causing them stress. But there at the end, I say, I think it's causing you a little bit of stress sometimes. And they'll be like, oh no, you have no idea. It's so much stress. But if I said, I think you said it's causing you a lot of stress, a lot of people say, well, it's not that bad. So when you say that and you lower it, they amplify it.
Yeah. Whenever you minimize someone's pain, they maximize it. When you maximize someone's pain, they minimize it.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. And
anyone who's married will understand that.
That's right? So true, man. That's so true.
Yeah. All right. This has been good. I've got to run because I've got a meeting. But yeah, thank you so much. This is great. This is very informative. I learned some stuff myself.
I'm always learning from you as well. I'm glad we're business partners. All right. So everybody, both of us got to run. We got a meeting. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, go to Sales Revolution. We'll provide a link here. Go to Sales Revolution, join the Facebook group. In the Facebook group, we already have like 4,600 members or so just starting out. Sales
professionals.
Growing quick. Like
it's like 30 people a day. So if you're not one of those people, what are you doing? Get on the train. Nobody wants to be the last guy in the club. Like you want to get in there early, establish a corner.
We don't want to leave you out in the cold. We don't want to leave you out in the jungle to fend for yourself. So go ahead and jump in there. Sales Revolution. Matt and I go live about 4 to 5 times a week in there. We offer a lot of content in there that we just give away little pieces. I don't know why we do that. And we'll see you next week on the show. Thanks for being on.
Now, if you're serious about joining the top 1%, I mean the top 1%, and you want to experience more training content just like this, click the links right over there. Right over there, they're exactly what you need to see next. You see, I release new episodes featuring top salespeople and sales authorities, multiple 6-figure, high 6-figure, even 7-figure earners. And if you're new here, do yourself a favor and smash that subscribe button right below, and join our new Facebook group, Sales Revolution. You see, it's free, and there's a link in the description below just for you. We put it there for you. Finally, I make posts on Facebook and Instagram each and every day with more tips and training, so be sure and follow me and turn on your notifications. So make a comment in the first 7 minutes to any of my latest posts, share this episode, and there's a very real chance that you're going to win some killer prizes. And here's the thing, don't sit on the sidelines. Don't be like everyone else. Get into the game. Join the Sales Revolution. Stay active, get involved, learn the right skills, and we will show you how to take your life and income to a level that most only dream about.